I'm not going to roll the intro for this video because I'm too amped up and I feel too passionately about what I want to talk about, so I just want to jump right into it. Now, this is going to be a long video, so buckle up, grab some popcorn, grab some munchies, you may need some alcohol, and settle in. Now, if you're not new to my channel and you are a regular viewer, then you probably have an idea of what I'm going to say, or you may even know what I'm going to say. But I gain new subscribers and viewers each and every day. Thank you, by the way. I really do appreciate it. And there's no doubt, because of the title of this video and the subject matter contained in this video and the fact that we are only a couple of weeks away from the release of a certain movie, as of shooting this video, there is no doubt that new eyeballs and viewers who have never watched me, never heard of me, will be watching this video for sure. And I can guarantee, I feel that the probability is quite high that most of those people will probably not agree with what I have to say. And at the end of the day, I could not care less. Now, that's not personal. I don't mean that as a personal slight or I'm throwing shade your way or anything like that. It is just something that I say, and I have said from the very beginning of this channel, because I want people to know where I stand, and that you can't do, at least I don't believe you can do this kind of thing, commentary, and care about what people think of you or care whether they agree with you or not. My job is to tell you what I think and let the chips fall where they may. And if you agree with me, that's great. That's awesome. That's cool. But if you don't agree with me, hey, that's cool too. That's okay. Right? That's what I mean by that. It's not personal. It's not like I don't like you, Bob. So no, it has nothing to do. I don't know you guys personally, just as you don't know me personally. So it has nothing to do with that. It's just something I say so people don't have unrealistic expectations of me and my channel. Because if I did care about what people thought, if I did care about what people, if people agreed with me, then I would mold my opinions and views to fit what they thought. And then I'm no longer in control of my channel. They are. And that's not how I operate. So, what do I want to talk about today? Well, I want to talk about Star Wars, but more specifically, the world of fandom. And even more specifically than that, the world of the toxicity, that exists in the world of Star Wars fandom. It is unfucking believable to me. Now, I knew that it existed, but with the rise of Skywalker essentially only a couple of weeks away, I've been doing quite a bit of rabbit hole light research, if you will, watching a ton of videos. And my intention was to watch people who were, as excited as I was, or maybe as cautiously optimistic as I was, let's put it that way. And let me also say, before we get too deep into this, that I loathe The Last Jedi. I did not like it. I liked it. That's okay. That's awesome. I did not. And that has nothing to do with 40-year-old fanboy expectations that were not met. I'm a 40-year-old man. I was born in 1979. It has nothing to do with that. For me, there are serious narrative and story structure and character development issues in that movie. There are many creative decisions that Johnson made and that Disney allowed him to do that I fundamentally disagreed with when you are trying to construct the second act of a 3-act play. There is a formula that must be in place. That doesn't mean you don't write your own story or you don't make it your own, but to be avant-garde for the sake of being avant-garde and to subvert expectations just it's kind of cool. It's garbage. It's bullshit. I might talk more about that in a minute. But anyway, so I didn't like it. But hold on, all you fans out there that are going, yeah, Dave didn't like The Last Jedi. Yeah. I like The Force Awakens. What? Oh, fuck Disney. Disney fucking. I can hear it now. All the comments. I like The Force Awakens. I do. I don't think it holds a candle to the original trilogy. I'm not on crack, for Christ's sakes. But I thought it was what Star Wars needed to be to get Star Wars back on track at that point in time. And we'll talk more about that in a second. I think I gave it like a 7.5 out of 10, 8 out of 10, maybe. Something like that. I didn't agree with every creative decision that JJ made, but I thought it was what it needed to be, considering the circumstances and where Star Wars was. And if you forget where Star Wars was, or if you're not old enough to remember, then I will remind you in a moment. I was stunned by the level of toxicity. Now, most of you are probably not, because you probably watch a lot more of this than I do. But YouTube is not my full-time job. My full-time job is a professional voice actor. That's my day-to-day job. And so when I'm on YouTube, I'm not always watching things related to movies. I'm watching a bunch of stuff, murder, mystery stuff, and documentaries and behind the scenes stuff of something. And I'm not always watching pop culture-y things, although I do that as well. And I know that the fandom there for a while was really toxic because of The Last Jedi. And I get it, man. I'm right there with you. I get it. Get it. But holy shit. It is unbelievable now. And what's frustrating to me about it, when I started to do a little bit of rabbit hole research, is the level of uninformed opinions that are now running insidiously through all these YouTube channels from people who don't know their asses from their elbows with what the hell they're talking about when it comes to how the entertainment industry works, with the logistics of what, test screenings are and how they work and how this and that and he said, she said, all this stuff. I'm sitting there and I'm thinking, oh my God, because it is just, and that's not everybody, but let's say for the sake of argument that there are 100 YouTube channels that are diving into the rise of Skywalker and Kathleen Kennedy and bullshit and Disney Star Wars and all that kind of shit, right? Let's say there's 100 of them. There might even be more. But as I said, for the sake of argument, in my estimation, I would say there's at least, out of those 100, probably about 70 to 75 that have no business talking about what they're talking about. Now, when I say no business, I don't mean you don't have a right. Of course you have a right. You're allowed to do it. It's a free country, right? And all those things that people say, of course, yeah, knock yourself out. But what I'm saying is that it's very apparent that you're not thinking for yourself. And we live in a world now where confirmation bias is running rampant through everything. It's not just the entertainment industry. It's been here for a long time. For those of you that don't know what confirmation bias is, and I'm guilty of it too, although over the last 5 to 7 years, I've done a pretty good job of trying to wean my way away from that. And I'll explain why in a moment. But confirmation bias essentially means that we generally only, and this is true, we generally only tend to listen to, read, or watch things that already confirm what we believe. We're not really learning anything new. We're just, or alternate perspectives or a different, oh, that's interesting. I never thought of that. Not at all. No, we're watching people that confirm what we already believe because it's comfortable and it makes us feel like, yes, we're right. I'm confirming for you. You're right. There's a very big psychological and sociological, perspective there. The reason why I started to do my best to get away from it is because I found myself in debates with people long before I started doing this on YouTube, that I would, and I'm a pretty good debater as is, and I know my shit to a degree. But I found myself when I would debate with certain people that I found myself getting, losing. Right? Not that, but like losing in the sense of it's like, wow, I don't know what else to say. Like, that's a really good point. How do I counter that? I feel like I don't agree with that, or I want to have something to say, but you're saying something that like I needed to brush up on the other perspectives more so I could have a much better, more well-rounded perspective of the situation, both sides of the coin. And I would say the other 20 channels or 25 channels are channels that are like that are coming at it from an informed opinion. They're informed, right? And an informed opinion is different from an opinion. An opinion is, comes from a place of how you just emotionally feel about something. An informed opinion comes from a place of facts. Places where, things you can point to, things you have evidence. Well, here's how I feel, and this is why I feel this way, because here are the stats to prove it, or, whatever the case is, or here's the probability of all that kind of stuff. So over the last 5 to 7 years, I think I've done a better job, although I'm not perfect, nobody is, of trying to be better that way. And I've noticed a difference. It's made me a better debater. It's made me wiser. And that's good. That's good. And that's what makes me sad, is this groupthink mentality that we seem to be in. And nobody wants to go see The Rise of Skywalker and judge it for themselves. I mean, when I say nobody, I'm talking about these people. No. They've deemed it will fucking suck royally before they go see it. But you know what? They are going to go see it, which is ironic in many ways. And the excuses they use are, well, I'm just going to go see it to see how bad it is. Who the fuck does that? How many times have you looked at a trailer online and been like, that looks like ass. That's garbage, man. I'm going to go see it to see how garbage it is. Maybe you do. Maybe you do. I don't. There are a lot of movies I see the trailers for and I go, that looks like fucking shit. Why would I pay money to go see that? I'll wait till it comes out on Netflix or Hulu or something where I'm already paying a monthly subscription. Why the hell would I go and pay to see that? Why? Now, maybe your job is a movie reviewer. Maybe your job is a critic. So you have to, that's different. You have to go see it because there's an expectation. I understand that. But all you people out there that are saying, looks like shit, man, fucking shit, then don't go see it. Well, I want to go see it. I just want to see how bad it is. Right. I'm not going to pay for it. My friend will pay for it. Well, then your friend's an idiot. Anyway, so, I can hear the thumbs down now and all that. It's very clear to me that toxic fandom has become a business. And that scares me, and it's sad. Because the vast majority of the toxic fandom is ill-informed. And they don't know their asses from their elbows with the logistics of how things work. And it's very clear when they start talking. And then there's, like 25% that totally get it. There's a couple of people I watch that I will leave nameless, but there's a couple of people that I watch. I'm like, yeah, this guy totally knows what he's talking about. And I don't always agree with him. And he says shit that I'm like, I don't agree with that. But you can tell he knows what he's talking about. Because he's informed, or he's done so much reading on both sides of the coin. He's looked into it. He's done his research. He works in the industry. Whatever. You can tell by the lingo and the vocabulary and the choices that he makes and the approaches that he makes on or she on their videos that they are informed because of the evidence that they present to back up what they say. It's not hearsay. It's actual, quantifiable, objective evidence. And I understand not everybody has access to that. Yeah, but that means, but say I want to have, a YouTube channel where, I talk about this. Yeah, and you're entitled to do that. You are. I'm not taking it away from you. I'm just telling you that if you want anybody to take you seriously, then there's got to be some measure of integrity somewhere. Which brings me to my next beef that I have with all the online blogs. You've heard me talk about this. Listen, if it's coming from the Hollywood Reporter, think about it. If it's coming from Variety, think about it. If it's coming from Deadline, think about it. If it's coming from Billy Bob's movie blog, wait a minute before you start running your mouth with this rumor. Like the Rise of Skywalker test screenings. Star Wars, to my knowledge, and certainly in the Disney era, has not test screened their films to the general public or focus groups. Internally, yes, to Kennedy and Iger and Abrams and Johnson and Ron Howard and whoever's working on these. Yeah, sure. There's a small group of people who they trust, who are filmmakers, producers, executives that will give them feedback. But a general audience test screen, Star Wars hasn't done that. And you can't leave in the middle of a test screening. You can't. Barring an emergency. I mean, you got to leave because you're having a heart attack or you're going to puke or there's a family emergency. Well, yeah. But you can't leave because you are required to be there from beginning to end because you're required to fill out a questionnaire afterwards. And sometimes there's a Q&A afterwards with the studios. With like a rep from the studio, or sometimes a director will come. Not all the time, but sometimes there is that. And there are specific questions that you are required to answer. And you sign NDAs, which are non-disclosure agreements. Now, have people talked after they've signed a non-disclosure agreement? Sure, yeah, it happens, but generally it doesn't. I've signed many in my life, and I don't talk because the repercussions of talking is not something I want to face if I'm found out. And it can be very easy to follow the breadcrumbs and find out. Also, these rumors that George Lucas has directed multiple scenes and reshoots. I'm laughing hysterically reading this. He can't. The DGA, the Directors Guild of America, has certain rules and regulations in place. And if George directs too much, he'll get a director credit on the movie. George isn't directing. J.J. Abrams and George Lucas had a meeting prior to filming. Have they been in touch since? Yeah, probably. Has George, given insight? Sure. Did George direct a little moment of one little scene? Maybe. But he's not cutting the movie. He's not going in there and cutting the movie. There's no George Lucas cut. There's no Kathleen Kennedy cut. There are rumors going around that there's a Kennedy cut, an Iger cut, a Lucas cut, an Abrams. Are you kidding me? It's hilarious. And all these sites, Billy Bob's Movie Blog, and that you've never heard of, just run with it. Why? Because it's a business now. They don't care if it's real. It sounds good. Oh, this guy over here said it, so he's got a source. It must be real. Look at the source who's saying the source. Does that make sense? What I mean is that if Deadline, who has a plethora of evidence of informed opinions and articles and facts that are backed up by, stats to prove it, says, hey, source tells us that J.J. Abrams stubbed his toe on whatever. Well, then you look at that and go, oh, well, that, because a reputable, high quality, proven trade magazine has said it. So the probability doesn't mean they're wrong, right, excuse me. There's always miscommunication. Things can change. Stories evolve. But the probability is good that they're on the money because of the evidence of who they are and all the things that they've been right about. So that's a safe thing to run with if you are Billy Bob's Movie Blog trying to get a following. But if Jimmy Bob's Movie Blog says a source told me, who the fuck is Jimmy? A lot of these online media movie sites and pages and blogs are just recycling the same shit that everybody else is saying. Some of them don't even cite where they got it because they want to give you the illusion that they broke the story. Not everybody, but some of them do. There's no journalistic, it's not journalism. And, you can laugh at me about this if you want and say that I'm too hard or that I'm too anal. But, to be fair, I come from a journalism family. My father was a Canadian journalist. He passed away in 2011. And I have photos on my wall behind me here. My dad with the Beatles. My dad with Robert Kennedy. My father with the Prime Minister of Canada. My dad with Burton Cummings, and my dad and my mother with Liberace. And there's other photos out there. My dad with John Candy. My dad with Donald Trump. Obviously, my dad died in 2011, so this was long before he was, president. My dad with, all sorts of people. Growing up, I grew up in that sort of family. And I met all sorts of people as a young kid, mostly sports athletes. And, so I understand how important. And I saw the era, I saw things change from the golden age of journalism. Obviously, I wasn't alive then in the 60s and the 70s. I was born in 79, but my dad would tell me all sorts of stories. So I gained an appreciation of journalistic integrity. And when I see when I see these sites running these articles that have no weight to them whatsoever, and they're just getting it from this site over here that has no weight to it, it angers me and it makes me sad. Because then I come to the conclusion, and this isn't everybody, but I come to the conclusion that most of these YouTube channels and most of these blogs, not everybody, are in the business of toxicity. They may not be aware of it because they're in it. But when you are carelessly running stories and headlines that have no credence to them whatsoever, and J.J. Abrams just confirmed the other day that there wasn't a test screening. Internally, I'm sure there was, but there wasn't like a focus group or anything like that. There are people, and they're very loud. They call themselves the Fandom Menace. They want Disney Star Wars to fail. Guys, I get it. I hated The Last Jedi too. There's a lot of things that Disney has done with Star Wars that I fundamentally disagree with. But your identity is becoming toxic. It's all about views and clicks and likes, and who gives a fuck if we're right or not? Oh, Billy Bob's Movie Blog said it. Hey, did you hear? So apparently, because you know it's going to get click, 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 click. And it's difficult for me to take you seriously. And people buy it hook, line, and sinker. There's no nuance anymore. You know? It's just so unbelievable. And I just wish people would think for themselves. Make up your own mind. Don't allow me or anybody else to tell you what to think. If you love Halloween 5, that's great. And I sincerely mean that. I know it can be difficult to watch somebody you really like me. Not everybody likes me. But that you really like, right? Whether it's me or somebody else. And they start shitting on a movie you really like. It's disappointing because you really like this person and you always hope that they like what you like, right? I get it. But it's okay. It's okay. And the nonsense and the noise that I see from this fandom is just ridiculous. Most of these channels will do anything they can to shit on anything to do with Disney Star Wars, especially the rise of Skywalker, because they have an invested interest in being right that it sucks. That's not objective at all. They need this movie to be bad. They don't just want this movie to be bad. They need this movie to be bad. So all those fucking videos they uploaded talking about how shitty it's going to be and how garbage everything is don't then just look like lame-ass sitting duck videos just sitting there. And they look like they have egg on their faces. They don't just want this movie to fail. They need this movie to fail because they have an invested interest in being right. And it's incredibly sad to me. I don't want this movie to fail. I loathe The Last Jedi. But I want this movie to be good. But this is, Dave's getting heated on a rant here when the logo starts spinning around. This is where I'm at. The Rise of Skywalker can only be so good because of the damage that The Last Jedi did. And that's not J.J. Abrams' fault. So I'm going into this movie hoping that I can leave the movie going, that was all right. That was good. I should be leaving the movie going, that was fucking amazing. I agree with all of you. It should be like that. This should be the end game of Star Wars. This is the end, quote unquote, of one of the greatest, if not greatest cinematic stories in motion picture history. This should be way more hyped, way more popular than it is. I agree with you. But the damage has been done. And there's only so much JJ can do. And that's not his fault. So if we can walk out going, okay, All right, that was a lot better. He salvaged. Okay. Sucks, we got some scars, we got some wounds, but it is what it is, right? He's got to be able, at least he salvaged that. Okay. And that's why I feel cautiously optimistic about it. Because I want it to be good. And if it is, oh my God, that's amazing. Well, that's just icing on the cake. And it makes me incredibly sad as a Star Wars fan, the toxicity that has now become a business and how so many people have an invested interest in this business. It makes me incredibly sad. I get it. I understand it to a point. But now it's just like, shut the fuck up. Like, you've said it. How many fucking videos can you make on the same fucking thing? Shut up. And I'm with you. Like, I'm your brother saying, dude, I get it, but shut up. Like, you've said it already. Do something else. We get it. Because it's difficult for me to take you seriously when you're going on and on and on and on. I like The Force Awakens because Star Wars was dead. Some of you may not be old enough to remember this because you may have been born in 1999 or born in the early 2000s, but you're just sort of coming into an age now in your late teens, maybe even your early 20s, certainly your late teens, where you're starting to sort of, be consciously aware of shit and remember stuff. Nobody liked the prequels. I mean, people liked the prequels. But by and large, if social media had existed in 1999 and 2002 and 2005, the prequels would have been, the toxicity would have been there. The prequels were loathed. How soon we forget all you prequel. Well, geez, because of The Last Jedi, the prequels aren't that bad. Yeah, I get it. It's relative, I get it. But don't you pretend that you didn't fucking basically walk George Lucas into retirement with your stupid George Lucas ruined my childhood shit. If social media had existed 15 years ago, that would have been one of the biggest memes going around. There would have been so many memes of George Lucas, with Jar Jar on his head or something, or George Lucas's head chopped off on, Jar Jar's body, it would have been crazy. Crazy. You hated the prequels. Star Wars was dead. And after I saw The Force Awakens, I said this, and ironically enough, Bob Iger said it in his autobiography that came out this past year. And I said this exact same thing four years ago after seeing The Force Awakens. There's a video on my channel somewhere years ago. I said, it's not like it. Yes, it looks like an old school Star Wars movie. It feels like an old school Star Wars movie. It felt good. It felt like it was Star Wars again. And that was a conscious, creative choice. And I said that then. I said, I totally get why they did that. Were there parallels to A New Hope? Yes. I didn't fall into the camp of, it's exactly a carbon copy beat for beat. No, it actually literally isn't. But anyway. But I understood that the parallels that people didn't like. I understood the criticisms. It made sense. But there wasn't the toxicity towards it, at least not in the volume that there is now. Because people were excited for The Last Jedi. People were actually excited. They were excited. I mean, sure, there were some people like, it was a little too similar. I wish JJ had taken more risks. Starkiller Base, kind of like a Death Star. But they were like, the vast majority of people who were on the fence were kind of like, okay, all right, I get it, and blah, blah, blah. And they did that because Star Wars was dead. They needed to deliver something familiar and nostalgic to get everybody back on board. And then it was Rian Johnson's job to take it in a slightly different direction, but not do a 180 and be avant-garde for the sake of it and subvert expectations, do all kinds of, and just let him run rampant and make creative choices that made no sense. He took it too far. He had too much creative liberty. Star Wars was dead, and that's why The Force Awakens was what it was. You may not be old enough to remember that, but I sure do. I was 26 in 2005. I remember it very well. I was 23 in 2002. I remember it very well. I was in college in 1999. I remember it very well. People loathed them. I want people to start thinking for themselves. You don't have to agree with me. You don't have to agree with anybody. Make up your own mind. That doesn't mean that you can't, seek out people that share the same interests or watch me if we agree on 90% of things. Of course, we're always going to continue to do that because it's fun, because there's a virtual cyber sharing experience that goes on when you agree with me or I agree with some of your comments. I'm like, yeah, I totally agree. I'll heart it or, whatever, right? I get it. 100%. But please, for the love of fuck, don't get caught up in this cult-like mentality. This toxicity, this lack of nuance, if you're going to run a movie blog, man, have some responsibility. If you want your blog to grow, your site to grow, beyond Billy Bob's movie blog, beyond 500 views a month or 1,000, if you want 500 million views a month or 5 million views a month, then you're going to have to start adapting some, pick and choose wisely, start having some integrity. And don't run articles because some guy named Doomcock happens to say that he has a source. And listen, I get it. I've read some of the leaks, okay? There's been shit that Doomcock has said that clearly he's picked up on, probably from Jason Ward of Making StarWars.net or something. He's a good source. I get it. There's a lot of rumors out there. Some of them will probably be true, some of them won't. But for Pete's sakes, when Doomcock is your source, there's a problem. There's a problem. Because just look at the videos on his site. You want as objective as possible. And when you look at certain videos of certain people's YouTube pages, their identity becomes very clear. This is somebody who has an invested interest in talking shit about Disney. Now, they're allowed to do that, but then when they break a story, how can that be objective? And the story just so happens to be Star Wars ending dumpster fire. This is a shitty fucking movie. How can I take you seriously when your invested interest in your channel is to be that way all the time? How do I know you're right? It's just so ridiculous to me. And maybe it's because I'm 40 and not that I'm old, but I'm old enough to remember an era where there was no social media and there really was no internet. And, maybe I'm just getting old, man. And it's just not the way I like to do stuff. And people can thumb down this video and say I'm anal and whatever the fuck. I'm leaving it open. I have the ability to turn off the comments and the thumbs up or thumbs down, but I don't. Because I value your opinions, whether you agree with me or not. You don't have to agree with me. But I think it's time that we, at the very least, have some personal integrity and don't just jump on somebody's dick because they happen to say something without at least figuring out where it comes from. Because that's part of the problem. Is I'll be on Facebook and I'll see somebody going, did you hear that Michael Myers was married or whatever it is? And I know their heart is in the right place. But then I look at what they've shared it from and they've shared it from, Kevin's horror domain and, and Kevin's horror Twitter page has 6 followers and, it's just like, Jesus Christ. Now, does that mean that Kevin's horror domain is wrong? No, it doesn't mean that. This isn't an exact science. We're talking about probability based on evidence. You know, I want to put myself in the best position possible. What's likely, you know, when I'm sharing shit or when I'm looking into shit or when I want to know shit about Star Wars. Because it's very difficult for me to take half of you people out there seriously. But I mean, it's like, how long can you talk about this? Until Disney's dead! Well, then all right. Okay. All right. Fucking I guess I don't know. It's so disheartening in a lot of ways because you're an influencer and the people I see commenting in the comment section, you know, just and it wouldn't matter at this point. I'm going to end this video by saying this. This is where we've gotten to. It would not matter at this point if JJ knocked it out of the fucking park. You cannot like it because you have people counting on you to not like it. That's why I've often said that I hate The Last Jedi, but I love The Force Awakens, and I really don't give a frog's fat ass if you like that or not. I don't care. I'm not here to please you, you know, in that sense, right? And it's so great to be in that position, to be in the middle, you know? It's like politics, right? You're either this or you're that. You can't be. It's like, holy fuck. It's teams. It's like having teams, right? You know? It's like, fuck. Like, just shut up. Like, it feels so, it's just, if you want me to take you seriously, that's not me taking you. I can't because it's your your lack of understanding is so apparent. Your ignorance is so apparent that you just become noise and, you know, white noise in the background. If you want to rise above that and make your case, then you come at things from informed opinions, facts, quantifiable facts, from reliable, objective sources, not doomcock. Anyways, folks, my name's Dave McRae. If you want to follow me on Facebook, you can at facebook.com/manythingsdavemcrae. That's where I tend to post in the meantime and in between time when I'm not posting here. All my links are in the description. I could probably keep going and going. But yeah, just, you know, like, enough. I get it. And this is coming from a guy who's on your side, you know, essentially, right? Like, it's like, I get it, but like, enough. Like, fuck. No! You know. Oh, right. It's a business now. I forgot. All right, guys. I'll talk to you guys soon. Cheers.